Hey, y'all. Welcome back to the Yes We Can podcast. I'm your host, Kira Andersen. And today I have a very special guest, a gentleman by the name of Ben Brubacher, who lost his wife about 2 years ago to cancer. So he is a widower. They have 10 children together. He is an entrepreneur among many other things. So I'm excited for y'all to meet him today. Here we go. How you doing?
Little tired, but feeling a lot better after my coffee. So
Good.
Ready to go.
You want to tell the audience why you're tired?
Sure. My 6-year-old lost a battle with his hoverboard in the basement yesterday while I was on my way back from the pool with my other son. And so we met at the hospital in Fredericktown. We live in a little town, and they don't have the best equipment to handle complex breaks, and he broke his wrist like just clean in half, and it was like offset to the side, so it kind of looked like a banana when we showed up. So it was obviously broken. So they shot us up here to Children's Hospital.
Yep.
Hour and a half run up, about 2 hours in the waiting room, and 4 o'clock in the morning we got him back in bed.
I'm sorry.
And we're here. No, this is great.
So
we're committed. We are totally committed to your podcast.
I love that. That's yeah, I truly believe, we got connected by another entrepreneur here at the club, a friend of ours, Jack, and God's in this, right? Like, we're here for a reason. You and I spoke on the phone we FaceTimed for quite a while.
Yeah.
And definitely know God's up
got
to
through
something.
a little bit of the stories.
A little bit.
Yeah.
So we'll do a little bit more here and then more to come. But I want to know, how many breaks have your children have in total? 10 kids, people.
So I think it's only, I think we're only at like 5.
Awesome.
And I heard them talking about it yesterday. Some of the older ones were like encouraging him while he's waiting to go to the hospital. He's like, yeah, you're going to be like me. I had a cast and you get to pick the color out, So he's like whimpering at, the first hospital, asking them about the color selections, So
Isn't it just immense pain?
It was bad, but he held it together like all the way up till we were at Children's Hospital, and he's waiting for them to get ready to set it. He had already got an IV, so they pricked him. He did fine with that.
Great.
But he saw them rolling up like this machine, and just a little tear rolled down, and
sweet boy.
The nurse wanted to start crying because he looked so, sad but being tough.
Oh, sweet boy.
I think my second oldest son, his was a really bad break in a leg, and it was when he was just like 6 months old. We felt so bad. So we were just playing with him on the bed, and my wife went to get up real quick to deal with one of the older children, and her legs got wrapped in the sheet, and I couldn't move fast enough, and she just literally went forward and her feet stayed behind her, and he landed. It didn't even look that bad, and he kind of fussed for a little bit and then was okay.
Yeah.
But she noticed like a couple days later that she went to go change his diaper and his leg was like bugging him a bit. So we ended up taking him in, which is not something you really want to do, like show up to a hospital and they're like, why didn't you bring him in, when this first happened?
Why does your 6-month-old have
6-month-old, why did your 6-month-old? Yeah, so a lot of people are worried about who, comes to visit you after you break your child's leg. But anyway, she felt obviously terrible. But
sure.
he learned to scoot. Did any of yours scoot?
Nope. No scooters.
So I had like 4 of mine scooted, and we found that when they scoot, they don't walk for a long time because they can like hold something and scoot, so they just motor across, the floor scooting. So he learned to scoot, and it didn't slow him down. He's my triathlon.
Oh, wow. All right.
Ironman competitor. So
how old is he?
He is 22.
Awesome.
Hopefully that's right, Benji. They're at the age where it's like going from odd to even years.
Yeah.
So that's the challenge when they kind of are breaking. So
in
a little bit, they'll all be like odd again.
Okay, so let's start us back to who you are, where you come from. I love to give my audience a little background on who's sitting in this chair and why. So where are you from? Where's your wife from? Let's talk about from the beginning a little bit about that.
I was born outside of Toronto.
I told you I lived
so
there,
I'm
right?
Canadian. I did. Yes, you did.
Awesome.
So that was another connection. I grew up in Sarasota, Florida. And now we live in Missouri, which is the hottest and coldest place I've ever lived. And sometimes it's like in the same month.
Or day.
We had, what was it, like a couple months ago? It was like 80-degree difference in 1 week. And I was like, where else does this happen on the planet? And what in the world are we doing here?
Only St.
But anyway, I grew up in Florida, met my wife in Orlando. She was born in Pennsylvania, but also grew up on the east coast of Florida. So we connected in Florida.
I love it. So you have siblings?
I do. I have 2 brothers and a sister.
Okay.
And they're scattered.
Okay.
I've got one. My youngest sister is the only one of us that wasn't born in Canada, and she's the only one of us now that lives in Canada.
Funny how
and
that
she's
works.
the only one of us that has a really strong Canadian accent. So go figure.
Go figure. That's so cute, though. Okay. And so born and raised, where'd you spend most of your childhood?
I did most of my schooling in Florida.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
And then you met your wife in Florida.
Yep.
Now, what does she have a bunch of siblings?
She has 4 siblings.
Okay. So both of you decent sized families. And then
I've got. I actually have my brother. My younger brother has 10 children. Also.
Nope.
And my other brother has 7 children. And then my sister has 6 children. So when we get together,
you got to be kidding me.
Quite a fun time, I can assure you.
Okay, so my first thing that pops in my head is, wow, you guys are fertile. The second thing is,
we're not Mormon, we're not Catholic, we're not Jewish.
That's what I was just going to say.
Yeah. Nope, none of those things.
So funny. You just felt, are they all, I mean, and you're a very Christian man. Faith is a very important part of your life.
Yeah, it wasn't for the first 20 years, but
that was my question.
It's been for sure since then. Yeah,
Okay.
God sent a rescue mission to find me in a nightclub in Orlando, Florida, selling ecstasy. And so, that was my beginning in following Jesus. And man, I'm just so glad that he came to that dark place and brought me out. And I've been chasing him for like 29 years now, just saying thanks. How can I thank you?
Amazing. Can we dive a little bit into that, a
Sure.
little bit deeper? So how old were you, and when did you start to get into drugs? Was it, to numb pain from something?
Yeah. So I grew up kind of a typical American family, middle class, did religious activities, on the weekends, but we didn't have a spiritual connection at home. So I was just like everybody else I knew. At our school, we partied and then you do some religious activity on Sunday and you just keep going. So that was kind of my experience. But I did, looking back, I realized I was I think I was like 6 years old when I started really getting overcome with sexual addiction, which is really odd. 6 years old, and this is long before there was internet even.
Right.
And so from the time I was 6 all the way till I was in, till I hit 21, just went from dark to darker to darker. And, just like any addiction, it's something that feels so like dark and alone. And so the more that you keep it in and hidden, you just keep going farther and farther down that path. So I think by the time I was in middle school, I was already into several sexual relationships at a very young age. And then I started wanting to numb that, because there was some guilt, and I just, began this process of finding ways to deal with that. And so that was probably my start in, different types of drugs, marijuana, and then that led to acid and just about everything else you can think of. So by the time I'm in college, I'm selling ecstasy and living in the nightclubs and thinking I'm having the time of my life.
Yep. Top of the world.
Yeah.
King of the
And
world.
really it was the bottom. I just didn't
Correct.
realize it.
Right. Wow. 6 years old is young.
6 years is very young. And I realized that there's something very spiritual in it, so it's not just about like the thing that we're facing, like pornography on smartphones. I mean, that's a huge problem. But the source is something so much deeper and so much darker. And I think that's the part that the enemy of our souls wants to keep us unaware of, so that we're constantly fighting these, things out in front of us and not dealing with the thing underlying, which is, the depravity and the sin that he has us bound with.
Correct.
So, as soon as we start recognizing that, no, there's something really, really evil going on, and we need freed from that. And Jesus said, when the Son sets you free, then you're really free. And until he sets you free, you're going to just be constantly trying to deal with issues that are really kind of like scabs on the surface. And I think for me, it was dealing with that for a decade and a half, not knowing a way out, not having anybody to talk to.
Yeah. But nothing happened. Like, how are you exposed to anything sexual at the age of 6?
Right.
I mean, did you experience any
No, I was not. I wasn't molested.
Okay.
I wasn't. Again, we lived in a safe neighborhood, middle class. I get no internet. It was really demonic, I think. And looking back, that's really
interesting.
the only way I can, understand how could I get there. And then, as that opened up into anything I could get my hands on to feed my addiction, from the Sears Roebuck catalog, back when I was growing up, and that then as I was able to indulge myself, it just went farther and farther and farther.
Well, it's easy to do, really easy to do.
And especially today, right? Like I can't imagine myself with a smartphone.
No.
When I was 12 or 13, but it made me realize. I remember when my oldest sons were 8 and 6. We were living in Virginia at the time, and I just kind of had this flashback of when I was 6 or 7, and it just dawned on me: my boys are, we're very safe, we're careful. We didn't have a TV, we didn't have anything in the house, and yet I knew what I went through. So I was like, Lord, could you help me? I don't know how to
Protect these
talk to
children.
them or deal with this, and so I just sat down with them and I told them part of my story, what I went through as a young boy, and I didn't make it graphic or anything like that. But I remember both of them, they teared up and they said, Dad, I'm struggling with some of those same things right now. And I was just so thankful because it opened up this continuous conversation that we could walk through this together.
Yes.
And that's probably the most important thing in life, is having somebody to talk to.
100%. And to have their father be authentic and open and talk about it, right?
Yeah.
Someone that they can trust and share, and, knowing you're going to love them no matter what.
Yeah, that's right.
I always say that to my children: no matter what, I'm going to love you. There's nothing you can do that will stop me from loving you.
And that someone's been through and even failed in ways that I have, and they're there for me. I remember I came home from work one day, and my wife met me at the door, and she said, hey, the boys are just waiting for you. They've been waiting for you for hours. They're just sitting on the couch. And I was like, really? What's going on? And she said that they just wouldn't tell her, and she was kind of prodding them a little bit, like, hey, you can talk to Mom too. And finally, my older son said, Mom, we know you love us, but you see, Dad was a boy like us, and we need to talk to him about a few things. And so it's like, wow, thank you, Lord. Thank you for that.
Exactly. That's amazing. So what was your line of work, and then what brought you to Virginia?
So I've been a carpenter and a metal worker most of my working days, everything from, commercial roofing. I grew up doing commercial roofing with my dad from the time I was probably 11 or 12, long before OSHA was a thing. I was on large commercial roofs working for 12, 14 hours a day. So I'm thankful for that. I hated it at the time, but it taught me how to work long and hard.
Heck yes, it did.
And then I got into, all sorts of carpentry. And so that was kind of what we've been doing pretty much wherever we've gone, building stuff, making stuff. And
Awesome.
Virginia. So you asked, how did I get to Virginia? So we left Florida to get my wife's mom, who was really struggling with her health. She had a real strange disease and it was going downhill fast. And there was a research hospital in Flagstaff that invited her to participate in some clinical trials. So we sold a company that we had in Florida, loaded up the family in an RV.
How many kids at that point?
At that point, we had 4.
Okay.
And that was when my son was just born, and he's 22 now. So we loaded up in an RV, and so her mom could ride in the bed because she couldn't fly, she couldn't do anything. And we headed west. And on our way to Arizona, she wanted to stop in New Mexico. She had spent a little bit of time in her youth at a blind school. She had just a crazy past with her physical conditions. Anyway, we stopped on our way to visit this blind school at a town called Truth or Consequences, which is a very strange name. If you've been to, is this the camera?
Yeah.
If you've been to New Mexico, there's a little town, Truth or Consequences.
Wow.
Anyway, we stopped in Truth or Consequences at a campground, and due to some complications, she passed away.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
In the motorhome.
Wow.
My wife and her sisters were holding her in the bed. So it was a very difficult time. We decided to just stay in New Mexico for a little bit. So I bought a state parks pass, and we lived in the state parks in New Mexico and Arizona for about 3 months and just healed and just spent a lot of time loving on each other and hiking and exploring. From there, I got an invitation from my younger brother who lived in Virginia to come and help him on some carpentry work that he had and to visit. So we prayed about it and thought, okay, let's go visit him for a couple months. And so we stayed there in his yard and camped. And a couple months turned into, for a few different reasons, about 7 years. We ended up staying in Virginia.
Good for you. Did you stay in the RV the whole time, or did you buy a house?
So we actually moved from place to place. For a little while, we were renting a house, and then we ended up on a campground. This kind of church summer campground. We were invited to stay there and kind of be camp hosts. Thought that was going to be for a month or two, and it probably should have been just a month or two, but we stayed there for a number of years. Had our next 4 children in Virginia, and so
awesome. Sounds awesome.
We were living right below Skyline Drive in the Shenandoah Valley, which is very, very beautiful.
Yes, it is. Wow. Okay, and then how did you? Let's rewind back just a little bit. How'd you meet your wife?
So I was asked to come to a Campus Crusade outreach event at the University of Central Florida to share my testimony.
Because you were sober at that point?
I was, yeah.
Okay.
Some people had started hearing about this druggie that got radically converted and was now wandering up and down the beaches, telling people about Jesus. And so they wanted to, they wanted me to come and share my story at the college. So I went and shared my story there, and she was one of, a group of different young people that came up to me after the event and just wanted to chat, ask a bunch of questions. And then a group of them started coming over to visit me where I lived in Cocoa Beach. And
just to hang out?
Just to hang out. And I mean, we talked about Jesus a lot, did Bible studies.
Yeah.
I tied hemp jewelry. I made a living at that point making skateboards.
Wow.
And tying hemp jewelry on the beach. So for them, it was probably like, kind of a cool hippie vibe.
A sober
So we
hippie.
did that. It was totally sober. Yeah, no
Sober
drugs,
hippie vibe.
just a bunch of, talking about Jesus and reading the scriptures and wandering up and down the beach, telling people about Jesus and building relationships like that.
I love that.
Yeah,
And then
it was special.
your relationship just flourished from there.
Yeah, so I Well, yes and no. I think I told you a little bit. I thought after God had so healed me, like, because I was addicted to so many things, and the night that He came and set me free, I was so free that I didn't need these sexual and emotional connections that were just so much a part of my life, and I was so freed from it that for a season I was accused of being homosexual, and as I was praying about this, I was like, God, I need to know how to relate to people better. I don't know what's going on in me. I definitely am not homosexual, but I don't feel like I'm interested in relationships right now. And I remember reading the scriptures one day soon after that conversation with the Father. And I was terrible at school, and I don't know how to study. I get a terrible memory. And so my journey with Jesus has just been asking Him a ton of questions about everything I read, and He answers me. So I remember reading this part where Jesus is talking to His disciples about marriage, and something in the way He said it made them realize that, oh, this is for real. Like, you can't just get out of being married. Like, once you're married, you're going to be married. And so they said to Him, man, if that's true, that we can't just like get out of this marriage, then it's better if we're not married. And Jesus responded to them and said, not everybody can handle that, except people that are either made that way, or other people make them that way, or they choose to be that way, or God makes them that way. And He used this word eunuch. Some are made eunuchs by God. I had no clue what a eunuch was, but I looked it up. And it was like my aha moment. Like, so you called me to a life of celibacy, just me and you, you made me a eunuch. And I was so excited because I felt like it was an answer to my question, like, what's going on inside of me?
Prayer. Yes.
And so for that season, I literally made that part of my, conversation with people as I'm sharing my story, just so that it didn't create awkward tension as I'm getting to know new groups of people. God's radically changed my life and freed me from so many things, and He called me into this life of celibacy. Do you know what celibate is?
Right. Will you explain to our audience celibacy and what a eunuch is?
So, from what I understand, celibacy is a life of singleness. So, someone who just is decided to or content to just be single. And when that's something that's walked out with God, like the Apostle Paul, he lived as a celibate. Jesus Himself lived as a celibate. They didn't have a relationship with a woman. Same thing can happen for women. Women can be celibate, and they're just content to live single. And so, for me, I thought that made sense to me because I was so addicted to so many really bad things sexually that He healed me, and now I'm just content to be single and free. And so, some are called into that life, and Paul would say, it's a real blessing. Being married is a real blessing, and being celibate is also a real blessing. And whatever position that God has you in, like, just know that He can give you total contentment there. And that's a promise.
Yeah, and it's a calling, right? Some people are called to be celibate.
Yes.
And sometimes it's just a chapter or a season in your life.
Totally. Right? It was for me.
Right.
Like, it was literally
clearly.
It was literally a very short chapter because, even though I introduced myself as a celibate to Erin, who ended up being my wife for 27 years, and we had 10 children,
so
ironically, I've been the celibate, and that wasn't a pickup line. But it was probably 6 months after that. I remember we were sitting at my beach house, and we just finished a Bible study or something like that. And she happened to be the only one still in the house in the day. And we were just chatting, and I looked up at her, and I had this like flutter of emotion. And it was so weird. I hadn't had that in a long time. And so I literally went to the bathroom, and I started like talking to God, like, I'm so sorry. I felt like I had cheated on Him emotionally. It was just gonna be me and Him. And now I had this like flutter of emotion towards this woman. And He listened to me rant for a little while, probably just smiling, as He does with us so often. And then He just spoke to me, not audibly, but like, son, I appreciate your zeal, but let me direct your steps. And I was like, oh.
You don't say.
Well, hold on. So you mean I'm not a celibate? I'm not a eunuch? Cool. Is that my wife? And I literally, it like shifted that fast. We were married within 6 months.
Holy smokes. Okay, first, yes, amazing. Explain to us what a eunuch is, if you don't mind.
The same as a celibate. So it's like another word for celibate.
Okay.
So somebody who lives their life. And, a long time ago, there would be kings that would have like whole harems of women, right? So hundreds of wives, which is very, not God-ordained practice. But
not so much.
And they would oftentimes actually castrate one of the servants to put in charge of their group of wives, so make sure, hey, that's going to never become something else. And that was a eunuch. So some are made eunuchs by men. That's a physical like surgery, basically. But then there's this other place where it's just something that's emotionally, settled inside someone's heart. So John the Baptist was another eunuch. He just lived his life on mission, and he had his purpose. And for that, it was best for him to not be married.
Right. Well, we all have a calling and a purpose, right?
Yeah.
And no two people are alike. A funny story, a little side note. So I was in Omaha this last weekend visiting my family. Of course, brought my kids. My brother and his family were there. It's the member guest at my parents' country club. My dad is like mayor of the country club, the nicest man ever, hilarious. And
I love that. Your dad's the nicest man ever.
He is.
Cool.
Everybody will say that. It's so funny. Some of the youngins at the club, because my dad's pretty good at golf. At one point, he could have gone pro, but he chose law instead. But I guess some of the youngins at the club call him dad, which is hilarious. I'm like, no, he's my dad. But anyway, the topic of me dating came up. And he gets so uncomfortable. It's hilarious. And I was like, Dad, because...
How old is he?
70.
Okay.
I'm like, well, Dad, what would you want from me then? And he's like, well, to remain celibate and then go and be a nun.
Did he use that word?
Oh, yeah. and then go to the convent, like I've always wanted you to do, once your children are out of high school.
Was he teasing you or was he serious?
I mean, probably a little bit of both.
Did he originally want you to be?
Oh, yes. Are you kidding me? My parents are like the most Catholic. I mean, yeah, no, we are that. I mean, my parents bought a house right down the street from our Catholic church.
Okay.
Like that is why we bought the house. So it's just hilarious that you're talking about that now. And I mean, we were all laughing so hard because I'm like, really, like, Dad, I go, Dad, I'm 41.
And I have children, right? Because you have children.
I do have children.
Yeah.
Three of them.
You'd be the only, like, mom in the convent.
Yeah. Which,
maybe they take children too.
They could. Yeah, we'd find that out. But it's not unlike me to do something no one else has done. Like,
right.
Put a challenge in front of me and I'm going to go after it. That is one, however, I don't think I will.
Yeah.
But
well, and I think that God's called us to live like our lives on display, so that's the one part about like going into, and I get why some people do it, feel like this is the way I dedicate my life. I'm going to go live in this like space where I just think about God. But really, I think what Jesus wants to do is to like fill us with himself and work in us and through us, and then let other people see like, the goodness of God.
The goodness of God. And again, that's something that we bonded over, I think, on that telephone call. And the other thing, too, so when I lived in Northern California in my 20s and helped with some youth groups there and talked long and hard about, to these children, I remember God giving me this, to talk to them about, but how there's a God-shaped hole in our heart.
Yeah.
Right? And a lot of times we spend our whole lives trying to fill it with people, places, things, alcohol, drugs, sex, all the things, right? But the only person, the only thing that fits there is him.
That's so good. That's so good. Like knowing that you and I and everybody was made for the purpose of being connected to our Creator. Like that
in each
is
other.
the main thing. Yeah.
Correct.
And the overflow of that is this one another thing that really, apart from that, like I don't know of any other like fulfillment in identity I live for that. I live for image. I live for what people thought of me.
You lived, past tense.
Yeah, I lived for that. Like that was it. Like how I was perceived. That's the only thing that mattered. And now, for this last 29 years, I'm understanding what it means when the apostle said, "For to me, to live is Jesus." Like he is my identity. He's filled that part of me that was always meant to be filled by him. And having that life given, like the promise of the Holy Spirit is the thing that changes everything for the human. We become like a new creature, a new creation. And if you haven't experienced that, that is the thing that you're missing out on more than anything. And that's the part that the enemy of your soul definitely doesn't want you to know, is that there is a promise for you to have part of God in you this whole time, the rest of your time on earth. And it makes life like totally worth living.
And so much easier, right? And not easier, but like, I just feel like, it's like this huge burden that's lifted off your shoulders when you realize, okay, like God's in charge.
Yes.
Right? And if I say yes to him, and I've talked about this again and again, but pray that I have the eyes to see and the ears to hear what he has to say and show us. It's like life just kind of flows a little bit. It's like you're not going against the current.
That's so good. And there's something then that becomes so freeing in that surrender. Like
surrender.
When I'm living for him, the why is so perfectly aligned with his whole purpose for me that then nothing can stop me from accomplishing whatever he has for me to do.
I feel the exact same way.
Yeah.
Like this year has been phenomenal. And I literally, after last year, I shared with you, I had terrible anxiety and depression. Grief hit me like a ton of bricks, which I do want to get into your story as well. But this year I've just been like, okay, God, I'm not in control. Like I will say yes to you.
Yeah.
You just show me the way.
Yeah.
And 2026 has been amazing.
That's so good. He will take our brokenness and make it into something so beautiful. And we can't do that. We can't do that for each other even, and usually the thing that's not helpful is hearing someone say, hey, even quoting the scripture, like God works all things together for good, like right when you're going through a huge difficulty. That's not the right time for that, though that is true. Just to be able to experience that as we say, Father, you made me and you gave me this body and you gave me this time on this planet and I give it back to you every moment. And so the moments that are filled with this like sudden bad news or fill in the blank, like, hey, I'm yours. I have nowhere else I want to be. And I'm here to do what you want me to do. And then the promise is that he says, I will be with you. Like I will be with you. And that makes everything then completely not only worth going through, but motivating us to continue going ourselves.
Yes. And it gives you a different lens when you finally succumb to that and surrender, like you said. It's a beautiful thing. And he meets us where we're at.
Yes.
So whoever you are listening to this, if this is speaking to you, no matter where you are, where you've been, I mean, as Ben said, he was a drug dealer, addicted, started at 6 years old, right?
Yeah.
We've all made mistakes. I have a long, crazy journey as well, but if we keep our eyes up, right?
Yeah. And then he redeems all of that. Like he can take even our worst decisions, and when we surrender to him and let him like do what only he can do, like talk about infinite wisdom. He can simultaneously take 8-something billion people's day of decisions in real time and thread those into something that could be super beneficial for each one of them if they'll let him. And just seeing that happen over and over again with people that I see depending on Jesus, like my wife, Erin, she was so inspiring in so many ways But especially like the last, 4 years of her life, her constant prayer was, Father, I want to glorify you. I want you to shine through me. And man, I just watched him answer that prayer like again and again and again, even through so much adversity. And I think sometimes we think of that like when we go through, things that are bad, we want to say, oh, that's, a bummer. We would never use the word blessing, right? But Jesus does. When we suffer, he's like, no, blessed are they who mourn. They will be comforted. We generally use the word blessing when it's connected to something like, oh, you got a raise, or so nice, you live in an amazing house, God's really blessing you. I just don't find that anywhere in the New Testament as the way that Jesus talks about blessing. But really the blessing is in this place of really surrendering to him, to receive from him what he would do in us and through us. And I think as he sees somebody in that posture, then he can glorify himself through them to this world and to all of the powers and principalities of darkness, the forces of evil. I mean, there's a spiritual war going on that if you and I could have seen it this morning, we'd probably hunker down underneath our beds, right? Just to know what's going on. But knowing that God is able to continually work everything that even the enemy, the devil, intends to do you in, take and make that into something good for you if you'll give it to him. How does it say? So submit yourself under the mighty hand of God. And it's not his hand outstretched to beat you, but it's his loving hand as a father to comfort you and to teach you and to train you. If you submit yourself to him, he will make you whole. And I've just seen that over and over again in the lives of people that I know that walk this out.
Yes. And, it's almost like how we parent our children, right? Like we are God's children. I'll give you an example of this. My son, we tell our children, don't touch that, don't do that, trying to help them learn, right? And the other day I had my curling iron on and my two youngest were in the bathroom with me, and I was getting ready for whatever and telling him, don't touch the curling iron, it's hot. Okay, well, of course he touched one end, he's like, this isn't hot. I'm like, it's not, but I still wouldn't touch it. Then he decides, after contemplating mentally, I could see him doing this, just to touch the hot part.
Yeah.
After I've told him no, and got severely burned. Screaming,
so like us, isn't it?
And it is. It's the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And I talk with them afterwards. Of course, are you okay? We got ice. I'm like, honey, I say this to my children. I am trying to teach you and guide you and help you to make good decisions and educated decisions. But when mommy says something, it's for your own good.
That's so good.
It's for your own good.
That's so good.
And if you can listen to me the first, second, third, fourth, or fifth time that I've said something, I promise you, we'll avoid some of these mistakes.
That's so good. There's a scripture that says, John, I think, said, the commands of the Lord aren't burdensome. They're not grievous. They're not, irritating to those who love him. And he uses a word there that are people that are intimate with him. They know him. They know that he's so for us in everything. So if he instructs us, it's like, it's life for me. It's not he's withholding something from me. And I think as we go forward, I mean, it's 29 years. I'm learning that I'm depending on myself less and less and less and less. Like, I need you. I need you to show me, Lord. Show me. Help me see. Help me speak right. Help me think right. Help me walk right.
Okay, so let's go back to when you found Jesus. You're in a nightclub selling ecstasy. What exactly happened?
Wow. Yeah, I think the Lord sent a messenger into that space. I was sitting off a dance floor in a kind of a private room.
Were you high at that point?
Oh yeah. And we had sold the ecstasy for that party. The whole room was, just filled with all sorts of depravity and, darkness. And just in a moment, I was completely sober. Like I literally came to my senses, and my first thought was, oh no, this was a dud. Like I literally just sold 200 people
a drug that's not going to work.
a dud. And I was actually contemplating like hightailing it out of there. I had my younger brother with me that, you know, was kind of showing him a good time. He was always a good kid, super annoying brother, you know, 4.0 star basketball player,
One
never
of
did anything
those.
wrong. One of those guys. Love you, Phil. You're amazing. But now I've got him with me. But as I was contemplating leaving, because I didn't want to give the money back, you know, I was also a thief. I was addicted to stealing, which is odd because I grew up in a middle-class family. I always had what we needed, but I guess that, you know, that's that addiction to filling that
The
void.
rush.
It's like whatever I can do, I did. I was about ready to leave and I looked up and everybody's high, like just rolling, and again, just so much gross stuff going on. I realized, oh, okay, this is not a dud. But then I'm like,
What's wrong with me?
what's wrong with me, you know? And I was just looking at everybody, kind of contemplating, you know, how they're experiencing this drug. For the first time, I was like seeing this as me, like, and I was looking at these people and they looked dark. They looked kind of demonic, actually. And this is my peer group. And I started having this like, how did I get here? And then I looked, what really hit me was I looked at my brother and he is just completely wasted and being hung on with, you know, all sorts of gross things going on around him. And I'm like, what now? What have I done? Like now I've pulled my brother into this dark hole that I'm in. And I just started thinking I'm going crazy or something, because anyway, I ended up leaving out the back door with my brother, put him in the truck. And as I'm driving home, I had about a 20-minute ride. He's unconscious. And I just had memory after memory of all the things that I've done since a small boy, like all my sexual sins and people I'd lied to, women I'd mistreated. They were so vivid in my mind. By the time I got home, I was the worst person on the planet to myself. I like couldn't think of a worse human. People that thought I was their friend, I'd stole from them, I cheated on them. And so I put my brother down on the couch. He was passed out, and I just went outside and started walking. It's the middle of the day. Those nightclubs don't open till like 2 or 3 in the morning. So
Holy smokes.
by this time, you know, the sun's up, and I am now crying. And I haven't cried in I don't know how long, but I just was like feeling so guilty. I sat down and just put my head between my knees, and for the first time, I probably didn't care about what people thought, because there were students going to their classes right now, and they saw me crying, and I just didn't care. I was desperate. And I let out a desperate cry. I said, God, I don't know if you're real, and I don't know why you'd listen to me if you are, because I am so bad. And I've ruined my brother's life. And I was going on and on for a little bit. I said, but if you can please help me, if you can take me out of this dungeon I feel like I'm in. Because I felt like I was going crazy. Like, I can't say I was suicidal, but I felt like I could see the back of the door that you lock yourself in and maybe you get locked up. And I was so desperate, and I said, please help me. And I knew I was a con, you know, so I was convicted to not try to lie to God. I was like, if he is real, like, I can't pull a fast one on him.
Well,
So
I mean,
I was
knows.
even like, you know me.
Yeah.
You'll have to help me probably for the rest of my life, actually,
Right.
to stay with you.
Right.
But man, sis, in a minute, I was standing up like on that curb with my hands up high, and now I'm weeping. I'm just like crying. But I felt so clean. I felt like I had a shower, and I was so like a child again. I didn't forget about everything I had done, but I felt so pure inside. And I knew that I don't know what happened to me, but I know that Jesus did something for me. And in my head, I just knew, like, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that Jesus, and I was just I said, thank you, Jesus. And I went and I got myself a Bible that day, and I just started reading.
Wow.
And that's kind of been it, like, for 29 years, just reading, asking him all sorts of questions, asking him to keep helping me, and he helps me. over and over again. And that the secret to a life that is pleasing to God is just walking with Jesus and asking him for help 1,000 times a day, and he will help you. He said, apart from me, you can't do anything. But with me, you can do anything.
Anything. Wow. So now, did you join any sort of 12-step program, AA?
No, he so dealt with me. I didn't even know those were things, but I immediately started trying to help all my peer group that were stuck where I was, So I was going to all the parties and telling them about Jesus, and they thought I had really lost it now. So they didn't invite me. Anymore.
Well, and you stopped being the dealer, so.
Yeah, I was not bringing the right thing anymore.
Right. And how old were you at this point?
20, just shy of 22.
Okay. And when did you meet your wife?
Just between 22 and 23.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was a year, probably a little over a year after Jesus rescued me that I actually got married.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Right? Amazing. What, 1 year?
And I thought I was so thankful to just be forgiven, like for all that I had done, that I was content. And that's why I was content to just be alone. And I was just going to walk up and down the beach in Cocoa and tell everybody I knew about Jesus. And that was going to be my journey, And yet I had a blessing of being able to be married, married, and then have 10 children, a thief, a druggie, a liar. And so, people always are saying, hey, I'm so sorry, how Erin, she passed away at 47, like just right after her birthday. But we had 27 years of such a blessing to walk through life with a sister.
Beautiful.
So I can't, of course I miss her, but we have an eternity to be together, like this forever relationship that you and I started on a conversation. We get to be together forever and ever and ever. And so I look forward to that. But man, I'm so excited to have seen her finish her race on earth. And I was just so thankful to run with her for a while. So it's watching somebody else run, right? You're a marathon runner and you see your friend like finish and they finish strong and well. And you're just like, yes.
Right. It's beautiful.
It's beautiful.
So what are the age ranges of your, from oldest to youngest? And by the way, there were no twins, no triplets.
No, one at a time.
One at a time.
I don't know how people do twins. Anybody that has twins out there,
come on, Ben. I don't know how you do 10 kids.
Well, there weren't all 3 at the same time. In fact, the hardest number for us was 3. Because it was like you move from, with 2 children, you can do like man-to-man, and then 3, we're like zone defense, and I was terrible. I'd always drop the ball, so it's like this. But our 2 oldest were girls. So my oldest daughter is 27, and the next one's 25, and they were both like moms, like right out of the gate. And they wanted to learn to bake, so by the time my oldest was like 6, she could bake, she could sew, my wife was very industrious. And so they started like babysitting their little brothers, and they had 2 boys. And I remember being on a date with my wife, and we lived in a very safe place in Virginia, and they could communicate with us, but we would just go out and they would stay. The older girls would take care of the little ones. And I remember like telling her, like, we could have 10 of these. I mean, this is a piece of cake. Look, we're just like, we're out on a date right now. We got children back at home. It's no problem.
NBT.
And then they hit 14. And then I'm like, oh boy.
I don't want to talk about that. My 9-year-old's going on 29. So she's going to give me a run for my money. She is a mini me.
Okay.
Looks like me,
there you
acts
go.
like me, talks like me. So, wow. Okay. So you have 10 children. When did you move to St. Louis area?
They're about every 2 years, except between my youngest daughter, who we thought was going to be our baby. She is 12. And then my youngest son is 6. He was our surprise.
Okay. Which, don't know how you're surprised at that point, Ben.
So we know how it happens. In fact, I think my wife had a shirt that's like, no, we're not Catholic. We do know how this happens. They are all mine. But she thought after Maya was born, she was our 9th born, Maya Tisa Shai. She's our only child with 2 middle names because my wife was very artistic. But her name means my 9th born blessing in about 3 different languages. And we thought she was going to always be the baby, but my wife miscarried a few times. And I just kept thinking, like, we have a lot of children, She's like, no, we were supposed to have another one. Like I wasn't done, She didn't have closure, however that is for a woman, but she's like, no, that was not it. And I'm just like, we have 9 and they're getting older. So anyway, fast forward a little bit and the Lord heard her prayer and gave us a beautiful son.
Beautiful.
And so her prayer was that she could have one more. And my prayer, as soon as I saw that one answered, was, okay, could you help him to grow up pretty quick? Because I'm already starting to try to keep up with the old one. So he answered both those prayers.
Awesome. And then what is your wife's name?
Erin.
Erin, that's right. And so when did she get, can you tell us a little bit about the breast cancer? Not breast cancer.
No, that's kind of where it was visible at first. But her mom died at the age of 46. And she watched her health, decline really fast. So when she was pregnant with our 5th child, our daughter, who is 21, she felt something change inside of her. She didn't feel right physically. So she started this journey of like, okay, what to do, God? I don't want to go the way that my mom did, because her mom was very bedridden for many, many years, and it was really hard on the family. So she started really looking into health things, and for 20 years, she made sure we were the most crunchy people. Is that even a word anymore?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I didn't know that one was.
According to me, it is.
So if it was up to me, my family would have grew up on Taco Bell and Mountain Dew.
Okay, well, so good thing it wasn't up to you.
Yes, I'm so thankful because we had organic everything. By the time she was, studying what could help her, it was all about gut health.
But she didn't know what was going on inside her.
She didn't. No, okay. She just was praying and was just following the Lord's leading, and so much. She was a researcher. She would usually school doctors that we were talking to about gut health and nutrition and things like that.
Because they don't study that in school.
They don't. I think they mean well.
Of course they do.
So by the time she was pregnant with our 9th, she developed a thyroid kind of condition. And so she had a really good women's doctor that was naturopathic, but also a physician that worked with her and helped her as much as possible naturally. She was on, I think, NP thyroid is like a thyroid medication for years. About 3.5 years ago, almost 4 years ago, her thyroid kind of swelled up, and she went to the doctor, and they thought it was maybe an infection. Gave her, she never liked to do antibiotics, so she kind of fought that naturally. It reduced the swelling a little bit, but a few days later, she developed a lump on her breast, and that was like the first thing that kind of popped that was abnormal. And so she's like, no, something's not right here. And we tried to get an appointment somewhere, couldn't get in anywhere for a long time. It's difficult when you have to get in somewhere to actually get an appointment lined up, and it was going to be like 6 weeks, 8 weeks. And over that next few days, it went from one lump. I think it was within a week, she had 50 lumps.
Come on.
All over.
And this was after children, right? This was just a couple years ago.
Yeah, this was when she started her journey of cancer. It was like just shy of 4 years ago.
Did she have cancer in her family?
Several different types of cancers in her mom's side.
Okay.
Yeah, like many different types. And her mom's mom, so her grandma, was a single mom, had 9 children, lived on the streets sometimes, did things like heated the house with like plastic bales, just to stay alive. Okay. It was a difficult time, for them. So there's a lot of conditions that probably weren't helpful for their overall health. And then not eating healthy. But she all of a sudden had all these lumps. And then
were you guys thinking cancer?
Well, then it was like fast track to get somewhere. So over in Springfield, we were able to get her in. They did a biopsy, and it came back with like lymphoma. So that began kind of this then fast spinning journey of like, wow, what are we going through here, Lord? But I just watched her, even from that point, just commit herself to the Lord, say, Lord, lead me, take me, glorify me, and give me the strength to keep going. And that's what we saw, like again and again, just like when it didn't make sense to any doctors, she would have strength to do so many amazing things to keep going and serving.
Yes. Now, did she take the traditional chemo radiation? Like, what was offered to her, and did she do the homeopathic or both?
Yeah, so we did that biopsy, but while we were waiting, we had another like 2-month wait to get into like a specialist to actually start working with an oncologist. And it was like a few weeks after that visit, right around Thanksgiving. We're on our way back from St. Louis Blues game. My brother and sister had come down from Toronto, and Toronto was playing St. Louis. And so we watched that game together. On the way back, my wife started developing some side pain. And by the time we got down close to our house, she said, I think you should take me in. And she never says that. She had all 10 births naturally. And I've seen her just focus, like she would have a baby and she would just like stare, like in the zone. So when she was like doubling over, we hauled straight to the ER, and they found something on one of her tubes passing through her urinary tract, and they thought it was a tumor, So that sent us up here by ambulance to right here in Forest Park. We were at Barnes, and that was a blessing in disguise, because if it would have waited for that appointment, she probably wouldn't have made it.
No way.
So we were in the emergency room, and that's when they diagnosed her with large B-cell lymphoma. She had 2 MYC gene mutations, which made hers like 1 in a couple million. They told her that this is so fast growing that she might only have 2 months.
I'm so sorry.
And she went 2 years past that.
With chemo, or did she do the homeopathy?
So she did first chemo, and she was just such a trooper, and yet she just wanted, to do whatever would help her keep going. She's like, hey, we're gonna knock this thing out, and we're gonna keep going. And I think I told you when we showed up to the doctor, I always felt like I was at a pit stop with Mario Andretti, because she would be telling the doctor, okay, I've got this thing's on fire. I got that wrong. You need to do this and this and that. And I need it done by next Thursday, because this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go here. I'm going to do that. And they just look at her like, okay, Mrs. Brubacher, we'll try to do what we can do.
Whatever you say.
So we did a lot of different rounds of chemo. Nothing worked. It was all refractory. She did 2 different CAR T therapies, which are pretty invasive. And those were taxing. The whole time we're doing a lot of natural things. And that started me researching. And I was always the one like, do we have to buy organic milk? What's that going to do? And I felt really bad as I started reading myself, like of all the times I complained about what she was trying to do for the health of our family. So I picked up the mantle and we ran that together. And some of the things that we did naturally were the most helpful. We saw such good results from, several protocols that we did that were a lot of like juicing, fasting, infrared, hot cold therapies, contrast therapies, and showers that we were learning about. And and in that her body was so strong that people were shocked when she'd show up at her, monthly visits. They'd read her charts before they'd come into the room, and they'd talk to her for like 5 minutes and then say, Mrs. Brubacher, I just got to say, I was not expecting to even have a conversation with you based on your numbers.
Wow.
How are you doing this? And she'd just say, I'm just walking with Jesus and eating good and doing a lot of natural stuff. So
amazing.
Yeah, it was amazing. And we were so encouraged in that. Like, she was always helping people physically for the last 20 years. But that motivated us more and more. Like, how do we come alongside people? Because even these treatments themselves can be so taxing on our bodies.
Oh, yes.
And without like nourishing our bodies, it's just a recipe for a downward spiral.
Yes, we could go on and
Yeah.
on and on about that. So she finally took her last breath. Did you guys know it was coming?
October the 8th. Yeah, she was admitted into Barnes with something that showed up on her brain, like it had gone pretty much all over. In fact, she was like 93% as far as like her total, what do you call that? As it spread over 93% of her body. She was 93% consumed with this cancer.
Unreal.
Her last PET scan, she was in the hospital. They were trying to just deal with, she was in significant pain right there, but it wasn't until the last like 4 or 5 weeks. And I just remember praying, Father, would you just help her to rest, help her to sleep? She hadn't slept in like days. But she would be the one, she was encouraging people that come to her room. We had literally hundreds of people coming in to just spend time with her and pray for her. But I was like, would you just help her to rest, please? And I remember having such a sweet conversation with her. She was just encouraging me that she was so just at peace and knew that like her work was done. Like whatever time you need to do what your Father has planned for you to do, you will have that time. And she was so at peace with that. And the Lord put her to sleep. It was so weird. The doctors had no clue. They took her off even her pain meds. They took her off the life support system, and she just was staying completely asleep, at peace. Her body looked so at peace. And she slept like that for a week and a half in ICU.
You're kidding.
A week and a half. And they're like, Mr. Brubacher, we don't know why she's not waking up. We don't know what's going on. She's just glowing this like peace.
Wow.
Almost as though she was like smiling through everything. And it just created this opportunity for a lot of people to just come in and hold her hand and be with her. And I was just so glad for not even closure for friends and family, but just to be able to spend time with her, because her prayer was, Father, would you shine your light through me? And I had so many people tell me that they just felt like they were in God's presence when they were in that room for that last week and a half. And as she took her last breath, which they had even asked me, should we just pull her off like completely everything, like, and just finish it? I was like, man, Father, that's too hard that's too hard for me. You need to like take that out of my hands.
100%.
And when they asked me that, they thought, she's just going to stay here for a long time. As soon as I prayed, take that out of my hands, Father, that decision, an hour later, she peacefully took her last breath and went home to be with the Lord, like her launch pad there. I love going through Forest Park because I can just almost picture her like launching up into her glory from that space. But the doctor came into the room. My oldest son was with me in there, the main oncologist, and we were there in ICU for like 3 weeks. You get to know a lot of people very well. And he came into the room. He was a Hindu fellow, and we became good friends. And he said, Mr. Brubacher, I just want to tell you that this whole floor, we've never seen anything like what we saw here this last 10 days.
Wow.
And I knew, I know he didn't know what it was. I knew what it was. It was the presence of the peace of God in that space. And his heart was drawn to it. But then this part really was taking him back. He held out his phone and he held me up a picture. And I had started to understand how to read a PET scan by that point. We've seen a lot of them. And he said, I want to show you her last PET scan that was just taken a week ago. And he held it out and he said, do you see? And I said, is it clear? And he looked at me and said, yeah, she was 100% clear. She went from 97% covered head to toe with cancer to 100% clear. And he said, he was so troubled because he's like, why did she go? She was better. And it was such an encouragement for me because that's what we've been leaning into. No, you will not be taken. If your will is to do my will, the Father says, nothing can stop you from accomplishing that, not one thing. And he showed me right there, it wasn't cancer.
Wow.
It wasn't cancer at all. he brought her to this place, and not that for some it's not, but again, the confidence that you and I can have if we yield ourselves to God as our Father is that nothing will stop you from finishing his work when you give yourself to him. And that's a promise that has so much peace connected to it.
Amen.
It takes away your fear.
It really does.
Even when you're alone now and you're doing so many things, like taking your little boy to a hospital, you normally would do that with a spouse, right? You're like, man, help me, Father. You're the help. You are my help. Mm-hmm. You can give me everything I need right now in this season.
Yes.
And then he shows up.
He does every time. It's amazing. Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. I've got a couple more questions and then we need to wrap up. But first and foremost, how are you and your children doing post losing her?
So we had, as a family, started this project together. We thought we were going to be in Fredericktown, Missouri for 6 months, and that's been about 14 years. And the Father's just had us like working on this mission/retreat for building his kingdom in Southeast Missouri and beyond. And so we've taken an old property that was owned by the U.S. Department of Forestry and have been converting it into, a space that just welcomes people to come in. We've got a coffee shop and a venue. And what we were working towards, my wife didn't get to see it come to fruition, but one of the main things that we wanted to bring is a wellness center to our area that would create an opportunity for people to come and stay for as long as they need to and receive a lot of help that's bathed in prayer. So, as a family, that's what our focus had been. And we've found so much joy together in just continuing this mission. So it's been to us a labor of love. We were able to build a beautiful prayer trail on our property.
Wow.
Where we had laid her tent to rest, which I love how Paul says that when we're done with this tent, we'll be able to go home to be with the Lord. So I packed her tent up for her. And but yeah, the property has become to us a real place of rest and refuge. And our whole heart is to share that with as many people as we possibly can, helping them come into rest. I believe that if anyone will stop putting poison into their mind and into their body and rest, they can find nourishment through so many beautiful things that God's made to bring healing emotionally, physically, mentally, and most of all, spiritually. So this is our why. Why we're here in Missouri is to create a space for people to connect with God and find healing and strength and be encouraged for the rest of their journey.
Yes, I know. Beautiful. And it's called Sawyer's Landing. Correct?
Sawyer's Landing.
Okay. It's in
Fredericktown, Missouri. Yeah. Yeah.
Not from
most
here,
people don't know where that's at. It's about an hour and a half south of you here in St. Louis.
Look it up. And it's so wild, again, while we were, totally God's timing, but I'm putting together a grief wellness retreat with two other women.
That? Yeah.
And you own a retreat center, and wellness is my thing.
Yeah.
Right? So I am so intrigued. I want to come see. What's the name of the coffee shop?
The coffee shop is called The Station.
Okay.
And two things. One, the earth is the Lord's and everything in it, so we can't own anything. Mm-hmm. I'm managing that property for Jesus. But Sawyer's Landing, my youngest son Sawyer, we didn't name it after Sawyer. This used to be the ranger station for Mark Twain National Forest back in the 30s. So Sawyer's Landing was my wife's nod to Mark Twain. And the station, everybody in town referred to this little building that we turned into the coffee shop as, that's the old ranger station. So we coined that the station.
Awesome. So awesome. I can't wait to come see it. So
I can't wait to host you.
Well, great. So are people able to go online, look it up, schedule retreats? Can they come if it's by themselves, if it's not a retreat?
Yes, they can come for a cup of coffee just to the coffee shop. They can come and stay. We have some tiny houses there that are meant to be connected to the retreat, but people can use them for just overnight lodging. Mm-hmm. We have a lot of people that come to the area to explore Southeast Missouri. So many beautiful things around. If you like outdoors, we're We're just, minutes away from a lot of fun adventures. So you're at a place here that likes adventures. So people are familiar with like Elephant Rocks Park and
Yes.
Johnson Shut-ins, and we have a place nearby called Amadon. So people stay to explore the area, kind of our base camp. But yeah, as we open the wellness center, so our wellness center is called The Well. And as we open that, then we'll begin bringing people in or allowing people to come in for wellness retreats and also single visits. So you can come and stay at a tiny house where we can provide you things like juices, teas, tinctures. We work with a functional group out of Cape. So we'll be able to do IV therapies, just a lot of stuff that we found to be so helpful that are oftentimes like not reachable for a lot of people. There's places in Mexico where you can go and just not everybody can just decide to run away to Mexico for a while. But my wife really had a desire to make something reachable for people to come experience. But we also host like artist retreats, music writing retreats, putting up a greenhouse so kids can learn greenhousing and a lot of fun stuff.
Beautiful.
So it's family camp. We hope to have
Family
like
camp.
a
I
family
love that.
camp board where it's like almost every day there'll be some activity for moms, dads, kids to do
love this.
outside. And we try to get everybody away from their smartphones and devices, just disconnect, detox, and connect with people.
I love that. It's so beautiful. I cannot wait to come down.
Yes, we're looking forward to hosting you.
So thank you so much for coming on today, for driving up, even though you got very little sleep.
I feel really good. Coffee
Awesome.
had a big help on the way up.
Yeah. Beautiful. I always ask my guests at the end of the podcast to share one thing that you want our listeners to take away from our time here today.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just one thing. How many minutes do I have for that one thing? 30 seconds? Yeah, I mean, it took me 21 years to find out why I'm here. And for some of you, it might be 30 years, 50 years, 70 years. Some of you might have even grown up religious, but you've never experienced what it means to be intimate with your Creator. And for us as a family, the most important thing that we could be a part of is helping people connect with that thing, that intimacy with God that's been made available to us because of what Jesus has done for us. He is the superhero of all superheroes, came down to this planet and single-handedly destroyed the kingdom of darkness so that he could share his inheritance with you and I and bring us into a place that will be free from all of this. Like, this wasn't meant to be part of it, like grief, pain, suffering. None of that was in the design. That's all here because we have an enemy that hates everything about what God's doing in this intimate relationship with a human being. And so he's tried to destroy it. And outside of what Jesus did, it would be completely gone. And so having that, like that is the why. The why you're here is to connect with God. And the only way to do that is in Jesus. And yeah, so if you miss that, you miss everything. You have that, you don't need anything else. Nothing of your circumstances even has to change, and you'll be whole. Because if something has to change to make your life better, circumstantially, it'll never get better. But when this thing changes inside here, that hole that you mentioned in the beginning, when that's filled with your Creator, then everything changes.
So true. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I appreciate you coming on today.
I love that your podcast allows for conversations like this.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much to all of those of you who have listened and watched today. I will be back next week, 10 a.m. every Tuesday.
What if you could start your day feeling loose, relaxed, and ready? Deep hydrotherapy right in your backyard. Relax with your family or friends, or work out with our Michael Phelps Edition Swim Spas. Worried about maintenance? We have factory-trained service nearby whenever you need it. Plus, we're here for you long-term if you have any questions or need to refill supplies. You can even test spas at our showrooms. Spas and more. A+ rated, locally owned for 20 years. We put the in spa.